Nearpod is an interactive presentation tool that you can use with your students to guide them through a presentation that you're doing in class, and you can actually dictate the pace that they're going at. And then at the same time, you can get interactive feedback from them and or formative assessment data at the same time live as you're doing the presentation. So I'm going to show you the teacher side of this first so that you get an idea of what kind of things you can put in as a teacher. It's kind of like a PowerPoint presentation with a lot of extra features and tools that you can use, because you can add just regular slides, but you can also add a variety of different interactive features that make it fun for your students and useful for you to get different kinds of information out of Nearpod. Now, if I go to add content right here, I could add just normal slides, just like in a PowerPoint presentation. So you can give them information and content. One of the new things that they've started making available are 3D elements. So you can actually pick out different items from historical things, science things, and put those into your slideshow as 3D items that your students can view as part of the slideshow. So now you can see my little Jupiter icon shows up right there. You can also do interactive open-ended questions where they have to type in their response. You can do drawings. So if you had something that you wanted them to draw, you could see that. And then you can also give them quiz questions, and they can get feedback right away on how they did on your quiz. And you can see in real time how your students are doing on the different questions that you've given them. So I'm going to show you what that's going to look like from the teacher side. And then I'll kind of show you what it'll look like when students actually put things into Nearpod. So I'm going to save my changes to my Nearpod presentation. And now I'm going to start a live lesson. And then your students will have the Nearpod app on their iPads, or you can give them this link and they can go to it on their Chromebooks. And then they just have to put in this code right here. So I'm going to have a student join with that code. So my student's going to join. And when the students first go in, they'll be prompted to put in their name. So my student Mike is going to join this presentation. And you're going to see in a second that Mike is going to pop in here as a participant. And then it automatically puts him to the first question I had on there. So I just put in a picture of the Northland Pines eagle and said, "What is this?" So Mike on his iPad is going to type his answer, and he's going to submit it. And as those answers come in, they will populate in this little box here. So now you can see that Mike responded. You can see your participation rate. And then if you had multiple students in the class, you would see as those multiple students answered, you would see their answers on your view. Now, the kids don't see this view. They see only their own answers unless you share it with them. So if I went to this option right here, I can hit share. And on the students' iPads, it'll pop up with a little graph of what the different students put. It doesn't put a name with what they put, but it puts a list of what the different answers were. So now if I want to go to my next question, I'm just going to hit the little arrow, and then it points to my next question. So I have this draw a pumpkin question on there. So Mike is going to very quickly draw a pumpkin, and he's going to submit it. And then it'll say awaiting drawing from Mike. It'll load, and then Mike's drawing of a pumpkin will come up. So that's another option that you can have them try to sketch a concept, or they could do math problems here too. Could go to my next slide, and as I'm advancing through these, it's changing the slide on the student's iPad. So now I made a little quiz in here. So when this slide comes up, it prompts Mike to go in and start taking the quiz. So there's just a couple questions in here, and Mike's going to start answering the questions. And as he answers them, you'll see how Mike's doing on the quiz. And then Mike gets a little prompt at the end of the quiz when he's done. And then it makes him wait for you as a teacher to move him to the next slide. Okay, now when we're all done with this, I could share this with students. And all this does is give students a printout of how the entire class did without any names attached. So they would just see what percentage of the class got questions right, what percentage of the class got questions wrong, and they can switch back and look at their answers and which ones they got right, which ones they got wrong as well. And then I can unshare that, and you can see, you'll be able to see this, but the students won't. You'll be able to see what their answers were in here and how they did. And then I'm getting into my 3D items that you put in. So you as a teacher can manipulate these 3D items, but then the students actually have this full screen on their screen too, and they can manipulate the different 3D items that you put in. Now, again, as I'm switching these slides, it's switching the slides for the students. So you could show them something on your computer or your screen, and then they would have the ability to manipulate those objects separately on their screen. And then the last one is the Jupyter item that I put in. I can zoom in, manipulate it, and then the students have the same ability on their device. They can zoom in and look at it on their own screen, and then you could have follow-up questions after this to answer questions about these items. So these are just a couple of things that you can do with Nearpod as a teacher, and I'll do a follow-up video to show you the view that students have. And again, this is something that will work on either iPads or Chromebooks.